So what I'm here to talk to you about actually this morning, if you read at all any of the literature going out, it's called Unfunded, From Bootstrap to Blue Chip. And so basically the premise of what we're going to talk about this morning is how to build a company from scratch. Because what Nikki's referring to is, I never had any education on how to write software, and she's right, I don't have a business coach or anything like that. But I can't necessarily take credit for everything that I've done. I learned from other people, I learned from a lot of other people, and Rainmakers, as a matter of fact, has been integral in that, because you can't go to a Rainmakers meeting and not meet 10 coaches. So I've learned a lot at Rainmakers meetings. So, but we're talking about building a company from scratch. From nothing. And so it's a good introduction, because the first thing I wanted to talk about actually is my qualification to be on this stage, because where is Linda? Earlier this afternoon I got asked if I was 18. So I figured it'd be very worthwhile for me to spend some time telling you why I'm on this stage and why you're even listening to me. And it has nothing to do really with my business savvy. It certainly doesn't have anything to do with what I understand about in the investment world or capital structure. Certainly not my financial savvy, as you'll ask my wife. She handles the checkbook for the household. The reason why I'm up here is because of a skill that I learned among the many skills that you learn growing up as a country boy. I learned how to start a fire. Now, some of you are chuckling because as city slickers, you think it's easy to start a fire, right? You just start with gasoline. You just pour some gas on a stack of wood, and when 30 seconds later, when you've got nothing but a bunch of blackened wood that's cold as ice, you just pour more gas on it, and then you keep it going. But what I'm talking about is when I was a kid, I learned how to start a fire without any gasoline. The funny thing is, I've actually watched a lot of you city slickers start some campfires before, where you'll go through, all the lawnmower gas you've got in your garage and still wind up with nothing but a bunch of black logs, cold as ice. You can't get the fire going. I've seen people do this. They can't get the fire going. And really what it boils down to is if you don't know how to start a fire without gas, it's pretty difficult to get one going even if you have the gas. Take me, give me maybe a shred of newspaper and a match, and I'll start you a fire. Now, it might take me some time. I'm going to research the wood. I'm going to pick the right logs. I'm going to maybe modify the logs. I'm going to strip some bark. I may split a piece of wood. I may get the right twigs. I'm going to get twigs and sticks, everything all the way up from maybe some dried grass, dried leaves, some kindling. And I'm going to start small. In the very beginning, we'll talk about this. In the very beginning, that fire is not going to look anything impressive. You're going to wonder why I think it's going to turn into a fire. It's not going to look like what it will look like in the end. But give me time, and I'll start a fire. See, just having gasoline doesn't mean that you know how to start a fire. Just having the gas doesn't mean you know how to start a fire. On the other hand, take someone like me who can start a fire with nothing and just give me a tablespoon of gas. And then watch how much faster and how much bigger I can make that fire. What you need to know about the startup world, about starting new businesses, is that the game has changed. The environment has changed. Back in the late 90s, pre-dot-com bomb, any old idiot could pile up some wood, tell someone, no, I think it'll burn, you got some gas, and they'll throw some gas on it and you can light it on fire. Gas is money. Gas is funds. Gas is investment. But what happened was, the first round of gas didn't work, so we just pour more gas on it. We could go get round B, round C, round D investment. Keep pouring money on it, keep pouring gas on it, keep pouring gas on it, and at the end of the day, what started to happen was these fires, one by one, went out. And a lot of people got burned, and a lot of fires went out, and a lot of gas was wasted. We're in the situation we're in today as an economy because a lot of people had their hands on a bunch of gas but didn't have a clue how to actually start a fire and keep it going. It could take decades sometimes, and it has for some corporations, but the gas runs out eventually. So, I'm talking about starting a company unfunded. And right now you may be thinking to yourself, well, when I start my company, I'm going to look for investors. I'm going to get funded. I don't need to listen to what Nick has to say. No, the game has changed. Because if you go out today and you say, I want some gas, I've got this pile of wood, I think it'll burn, you got some gas, they're going to say, show me that you know how to start a fire. Whether you want to get funded or you want to go unfunded completely, the bottom line is you need to know how to start a fire from nothing. Because the venture capital world is different. Round A investment, and let me drop the metaphor and stop talking about gas and wood. Round A investment is all but gone. Most VC, especially in this area that I know of, is round B or round C venture capital. What that means is get your coals burning first, and then I'll pour my gas on it a little bit. And then if you can keep it going after that, I'll pour a little bit more gas on it. Does that make sense? We're talking about round B and round C investors. If you want to start a business from scratch, if you want to go from bootstrap to blue chip, you need to know how to start a fire. Bootstrap to blue chip. Let's talk about those terms momentarily. What is bootstrapping? Well, if you're a painter, bootstrapping might look like this. You get your first gig to paint a house, $500 check. Of that, $400 goes to buying some ladders, brushes, and paint, and now you're painting a house. The other $100 you're going to invest in a yard sign so you can get the next job for $1,000 and buy a little bit taller ladder, wider brushes, and do a bigger job. Does that sound familiar? That's bootstrapping. That's bootstrapping a business. That's what we mean when we use the term bootstrapping. What is blue chip? Well, blue chip in the stock market world describes a company that has high cash flow and low liability. And basically what that means is it's a company that other people want to get in on. Okay? It's a stock that a lot of people want to buy. It's guaranteed to make money almost. It's had a long-term history of making money. The fire's been going for a while. You've got a base of coals, that kind of thing. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that you're going to go out and start a company and go IPO and go to NASDAQ and you're going to sell it in the stock exchange. The reason I use the term blue chip is because it does describe a company that other people want to get involved in. It's a fire other people want to sit around. Okay? If you want to start a company that other people want to take note of and want to get involved in, we're talking about a blue chip company. The other thing about a blue chip company is it means that it's sellable. Other people want to put their gas on it or maybe even grab the fire from you. They want it. People are going to be banging down your doors to get involved in what you're doing if you've built a blue chip company. You know you've done something right when you have to tell people, no, I don't need your gas. That's what we're talking about building. Now, you might be thinking, well, I don't necessarily want to sell my company, but actually, you might want to. So what is a sellable company? Well, a sellable business, the best way for me to describe it for you is to describe what it's not. In reality, a sellable business means you cannot sell a job. Have you ever heard that before? Now, I want to just hijack some material here from the E-Myth and several other books that are like that, so I don't want to, I've learned stuff from other people, so I want to give credit here, and I'm just going to refer to you to go and reading those books. But the basic concept is you cannot sell a job. If your primary source of revenue depends on a skill or a service that you personally provide, you have created a job, but not necessarily a business, particularly not a blue chip company. Not a company someone else is willing to put their gas on. Now that's not bad. I, for one, will not degrade people who are self-employed. I know some people that they think that business ownership is just the end-all, and so self-employment somehow is a lesser form of entrepreneurship, and I don't necessarily think that way. But I want to tell you this. If you are self-employed, whether you have a job or you're self-employed, you have a job for yourself, the way that you plan on getting out is affected by how your company is. If you have a blue chip company or not. If you're self-employed, the end game looks different. Because when you're self-employed or when you have a job, no matter what it is, you're planning on retiring on things we call investments, and whatever it is, SEP, 401k, Roth IRA, mutual funds, they are all vehicles to take your gas and put it on someone else's fire so that someday you can enjoy their heat. That's the way that works. And that works just fine. I have a little different strategy. I've had this conversation with my wife many times, actually. We talk about our investment plan, which we do put our gas in some other people's fires as well. But a large part of my investment plan has to do with owning 100% of stock in a blue chip company. If that resonates with you, if that's what you want to build, then listen up, because that's where we're going. But the thing is, if you're going to go from bootstrap to blue chip, what you have to know is that day one, you will look nothing like where you're going. When you first get started, especially unfunded, you're going to have to lay on your belly and blow on some coals for a while. You're going to lay on your belly in the dirt and blow on some coals for a while. You're going to look nothing like what you're going to look like in the end. You won't look like that blue chip image. So, what I want you to do is write it down. Know it. Envision it. Know where you're going, and then close that notebook, roll up your sleeves, and get to work. Because it's going to be a long road. It's going to be hard. I want you to know where you're going, but in the beginning, it's not going to look like that. In the beginning, you're going to meet a lot of challenges, and one of the first ones you're going to meet at the very beginning is actually the fundamental challenge to this whole ordeal, this whole concept of going unfunded, going without capital, without private capital, venture capital, and starting something out of nothing. The fundamental issue there is you've got to spend what to make what? Money. Everybody knows that saying. We all know you have to spend money to make money, and Nick, you're on stage telling me that we can start something from nothing. It defies general logic. You have to spend money to make money. You have to have money then in order to make the money. How do we start something from nothing? Well, if you've zoned out up until this point, and you've been playing games on your iPhone, and then after this you plan on checking email on your iPhone, just tone in with me for like 30 seconds here, because this is what you paid for to learn right here. This is the secret. This is it. This is how you have to build a company unfunded if you're going to go unfunded. This is how you start a fire. You have to make your customers into investors. Let me say that again. You make your customers into investors. that capital, that influx of funding that you need to expand and grow your company has to come from customers, and instead of exchanging equity for that capital, you will exchange value for the capital. They will buy value off of you, they will buy what you're selling in exchange for capital, and you will use that capital to fund and spur your growth. You have to turn your early customers into investors. Now, how do we do that? It's very simple. You have to sell something as early as possible. Go sell something. Let me tell you this. You don't get paid to polish cannonballs. Go sell something. Go to market. Get out there, go to market. When Address 2 was first released over 2 years ago, it was really nothing more than an online Rolodex. I mean, it was a contact manager on the internet. I told people it's smarter than Outlook and it's easier to use than Excel. Store your contacts in my system. It didn't have sales forecasting or email marketing or project management, any of the bells and whistles, nothing. It was a very simple solution, but people bought it. You know what? The coffers rang month 1. I released it post-beta, released it out of beta in August of 2008. So it's been exactly 2 years ago, and I had 10 customers at the end of that month. That's the key. You have to sell something as early as possible. Go sell something. Now, what's interesting and kind of funny is over time, if you start to be successful and you start to gain traction, people take notice, right? And have you ever heard that imitation's the finest form of flattery? If you don't believe me, Tony, how many other networking groups have spawned in Indianapolis since Rainmakers has started? We're going to do what Tony did. It's working for him. People like to imitate. People see the success that you're doing, they're going to imitate it. Last Christmas, so 9 months ago, I was on vacation with my wife's family in Wisconsin. I wasn't even thinking about business, right? And my phone rang. It was one of my friends from Indianapolis. He's kind of one of those drama guys. You know, everything's drama, drama, drama. The phone rings, and he's like, Nick, I just heard this news. You got to hear this. You're not going to believe it. There's another software company in Indianapolis. They're going to come out with a small business CRM. They're going to come and compete with you. And I was like, okay. I mean, it's a really big market. There's millions of small businesses. There's a big fish to play in. I really wasn't worried about it. Here's the reason I bring up this story is because 9 months later, the last report I've heard is that product is still in development. Now, they're probably in a different business situation. They're probably maybe not going unfunded, so maybe they're following different principles than me. But my point is, I didn't have that luxury. I made money day 1. And over the course of the last 9 months, I've still been out there selling a product. So by my books, I'm winning. And it's going pretty well. But you have to sell a product day 1. Now, you're probably wondering, though, if I'm telling you to rush to market with a product as quickly as possible and sell it. And by the way, it's not going to look like the product that you plan to have when you're that blue chip company. You need to go sell something as early as possible. The question is, how can I sell something day 1, way early, immature, and still actually build that momentum where people are like interested in it and like it and are happy with it? You know, how do I not tarnish my reputation with an immature product in the market? How do you do that? That's walking a delicate balance. So determining what that product is that you come to market with day 1, your early market entry point, that's crucial to succeeding going unfunded. If you fail at this, you will fail at it. So get this right. You have to solve a problem. One problem. One problem only. Go to the market and solve one problem. Now, why one problem? Why just one? Why am I narrowing that? Well, because, as I've already mentioned, the first thing you need to do is sell something early, not talk about something early. You need to make money early as possible in the game. The more complex your solution is, if you have a multifaceted solution that solves 10 problems for your customers, that's great. It may have more sizzle, it may look more sexy than this product that I'm describing, this one simple solution that's out there. It may make you feel better about it, but it's going to take you 3, 6, 9 months, maybe a year to get your first check. You're screwed. You need the shortest sales cycle possible. The simpler the solution, the shorter the sales cycle. Because remember, early on, you're laying on your belly in the dust, blowing on coals. Don't get cocky. Go make some money early. Solve one problem. The second thing about that problem, the second thing about this, and this is crucial, is it has to be elemental. Elemental. What do I mean by elemental? Elemental is something that other people can build on, or that other solutions can build on. Let me give you some examples. The first example is something that's not elemental. I have a friend named Chang. He's a neuroradiologist. That is not an elemental solution. He is way far down the food chain in the problem solving or in the healthcare solution, right? The elemental solution in that market is the GP, the general practitioner, where you go and you're like, my neck hurts. And he refers you to a specialist, an ortho, and the ortho orders an x-ray and he sees something kind of funny near the base of the neck, so then he orders a CAT scan of your spine and head, and that ends on Chang's desk. That is not an elemental solution. Elemental is something that can be built upon. The elemental solution there is the GP, answering one simple problem, solving the elemental issue. Another great example, I love this example, our very own Lorraine Ball, former president of Rainmakers and owner of a marketing firm in Carmel called Roundpeg. Now, it's a marketing company, so they answer marketing solutions. That's what they provide. They also have a product that she sells. She does training for small business owners or would-be small business owners on how to write a business plan. Now, why would a marketing person train people on how to write a business plan? Do you think that's elemental? Do you think other solutions compound on that? Do you think after she's answered that one solution, which, by the way, is an extremely short sales cycle, excuse me, I'm fighting a cold, an extremely short sales cycle, she's got an elemental build-up then. She's solved an elemental issue that other solutions that she can provide compound on that. When you're making your customers the investors, you need that catalyst. Or, if you'd like to, for an example, let's take this cockamamie company called Address2. Maybe you've heard of it. We came out with nothing but a contact management database, threw it on the internet, and said, go manage your contacts in this. It's really neat and easy to use. And guess what happened? Within a couple of months, we had a client, and they said, well, this is awesome that we can keep our contacts in here, but you know what else we need to do with those contacts? You know, we also need to track what we're doing with them and make sure that we follow up, we stay in touch. Is it possible that Address2 could also do that? Yeah, we can do that. Well, just a little massaging, a little tweaking, it'll be, $300, $400. I turn the customer into an investor. I give them value, what they were buying, what they were looking for, and I got the capital to fund my time to develop new and expand my solution, to compound my solution, if you will, to get beyond the element or to build upon that element and expound it, providing another solution that I can then sell to other people. Fast forward a few more months, we've got another customer. Hey, Nick, I've got thousands of contacts managed in this database here, and that's swell, but you know what else we do with our contacts is we email them like all the time. We're doing email marketing, and it'd be really nice if I could have this database and not have to manage a separate database with my email marketing tool. I don't know if there's any way that Address2 could also do email marketing, could it? Well, sure, there's just going to be a setup fee of $1,500. We get funded, we exchange value for capital to fund the expansion of the solution. Before you know it, you do that cycle long enough, and you have a conversation that looks like this. Wow, this is a really neat CRM. It does a lot of different things. It can solve a lot of our problems. Our sales guys could probably use it. The only problem is we're in the mortgage industry, and we've got a lot of really specific data and sensitive data that we have to track to our customers that your system won't handle. I don't suppose there's any way that your system could handle that, could it? Oh, gosh. That's going to take a lot of customization. That's going to take a lot of work. It'd be about $10,000, and you would have a tailored solution just for you to meet exactly what you needed. And now, we have one extremely happy customer, because we've been over backwards to tailor a solution for them, and about 80 other mortgage companies who are eagerly awaiting the release of the Address2 mortgage-specific plugin. I turned my customer into an investor to fund the expansion and the future growth of the company. That's what you have to do when you're going to go unfunded. It starts with creating an elemental solution and going to the market as early as possible. Once you've done that, and you start building those early client relationships with an elemental solution, and you let your customers identify where you can expand to, what else you can do, and let them fund it in exchange for the value of creating that solution, the next problem you're going to face is what to do with the money. I'm not kidding. One of the most important thing to do with an unfunded company, most important thing to know with an unfunded company is not how to make money, it's what to do with money. And now, ironically, it's really easy early on. Early in the game, this is simple. You can't really screw up on how to spend money when you got none of it. So you don't make a whole lot of early financial mistakes. Most small businesses don't fail on financial mistakes early in the game. They fail on financial mistakes once they have a little bit, and they use it wrongly. Because what happens is when you're used to laying on your belly in the dirt for a while, blowing on those coals, when you're used to having nothing and operating out of a scarcity mindset, then you start to, when you get just a little bit, it seems like a ton, and you dream like it's a ton. And what I'm going to tell you to do is be disciplined and work out of a scarcity mindset until you know for sure that you're no longer in scarcity. To give you an example of how far this goes, 2 years ago, I did build a deck out the back of my house. Built it myself. I've got a lot of scrap wood. The ends of boards and angle cuts and a lot of boards that I mismeasured. And I've got this whole pile of scrap wood. Speaking of starting fires, for the last 2 years, our bonfires have been filled with treated lumber, okay? Because I can afford firewood, I just have this mindset of scarcity. And true story, last weekend we had company over and we're running low on the treated lumber, so there's this limb falling down in the ditch like a half mile from my house. What's the country boy do? He straps a tow strap to the limb, puts it on his truck, drags it a half mile down 86th Street. My neighbors are like, can this guy not afford firewood? No! I can afford firewood, but I've developed this mindset of scarcity. I work and make as much as I can with as little as I can. It's amazing how resourceful you'll be when you don't have any other options. I haven't bought packaging materials in years. If you send me a box, it's going in a closet somewhere. I'm Sharpieing out the address. That's going to get used someday. You can start working like that, but most companies make their mistakes when they start to have a little bit of money to spend. Okay? Earlier, so what do you spend money on? What do you spend money on? That's the question. What do we spend money on? Well, earlier I gave the example of the bootstrapping painter, right? His first $400 we spent on materials to do the project, the ladders and the paintbrushes and the paint. Where did the next $100 go? Who can remember what the example I gave? The yard sign, marketing. There's one of two places you're going to spend money in the early game. Early in the startup phase, one of two places, and those two places only. Number one, somewhere that's going to increase your top line. That's marketing, that's advertising, that's Rainmaker's membership, that's Meet the Member. Okay, that's the buzz, that's things that's going to put more money through the door, increase your top line. Only spend money there, or the second place is something that's going to increase the bottom line. That's methodologies, that's training, that's technology, that's efficiency, things that will increase your profit after the money comes through. Those are the only two places I want to see you spending money. Not on the glitz and the glamour, not on luxuries, not on the extras. We'll talk about that in a second. You can also spend money on something that will do both, like a good CRM. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. But don't spend money on the extras. The biggest challenge that small business owners in this community, or not in this community, sorry, in this world, in this country face, is that we live in a world where everybody is posturing. And posturing is expensive. If you look to your left and your right, you see a room full of people all doing things, wearing things, saying things, talking about things to try and make them look like they make more money than they do. It's posturing. That's what we do. And posturing gets expensive. What I'm trying to say to you is, if you're an unfunded startup and you're trying to bootstrap this thing, you don't need the nicest computer. You don't need the new iPad. You don't need iPhone 4. It doesn't do a whole heck of a lot more than iPhone 3 did. You don't need a new car. You don't need a fancy office. You don't need a leather chair. You don't need a mahogany desk. You can be like me. You can drive an old, beat-up pickup truck a mile down the road to your office every day, which, by the way, is sublet over a factory that emits noxious odors on hot summer days. It works. You can actually run a successful business like that. You don't actually have to play the game of posturing. And that's what will kill most small businesses. And you know what the most expensive posturing move small businesses make? Is hiring. It's hiring. We don't want to answer the question anymore. That's just me in my one office above the factory that emits noxious odors in the summertime. We don't want to answer the question like that anymore. We want a bigger staff. You've probably heard the advice before, gotten the coaching that if you hire somebody that you pay them $10 to do some lower value jobs, that frees up your time to go do the higher value jobs, and then you'll make more money. Absolutely true. I agree. Good coaching, good principle. Except, I want you to make sure that when you hire that person to do the $10 an hour job, that you already have the money to pay them. Because if you hire on speculation, you're in trouble. If you've got somebody starting tomorrow on September 1st so that you can free up your time to go make enough money in September to meet payroll on September 30th, you are in trouble. Because in the first month, that person is not going to free up your time. They're going to suck your time. That's the way new staff works. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is actually really, really hard. And it's this. It's hire from a cash position. Now, if you do the math, if you hire from a cash position, hire from a cash flow positive position to where you already have the cash flow to afford that other person, what that means is during the ramp-up stage, during this blowing on the coals stage, you're going to start doing the job of two people. You're going to start doing the job of two people for a while until you get to that position. And I'm going to encourage you to be disciplined going to that point. But I already know that as small business owners and people in small business, we're no stranger to hard work. It's not for overwork that most small businesses make hiring decisions. It's for posturing. And I'm just encouraging you to stay away from that game. You don't need to posture. It's expensive. Don't play the game because it can destroy your company. What I mean is this. If you take a log that's too big and you put it on a fire that's not ready for it, it doesn't help, it kills it. It kills the fire. It kills a lot of fires every year in the small business world. But if you're patient, if you paint the picture of your blue chip company, know where you're heading, but roll up your sleeve and get busy bootstrapping and be okay doing that for a while. Get on your belly and start blowing on the fire. Look around at all the people around you. Let them keep pouring gas on their fire. Makes it look bigger and brighter. But when nightfall comes and it's dark and it's cold, you're going to be sitting next to a warm, hot, glowing fire with a huge base of red-hot embers. And they're going to hope their gas lasts through the night. What I want to see us do is start fires that burn so bright, start so many fires in Indianapolis that you can see Indianapolis glowing from the horizon. Go start a fire. Thanks.